Okay.
Thank you.
I'll open the November 22nd, 22 City Council meeting. Tracy, can you do roll call, please?
Bermal,
Here.
Harrington. Here. Sittig,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Wason.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3 is approval of the agenda, and I don't think there are any changes to what's in front of you. Could I have a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Item 4 is our consent agenda. Is there anything on that list that you'd want to pull out and talk about separately? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Item 5 is time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment on something that's not already on our agenda tonight, now is your time to do so. Everyone's not making eye contact with me, so they have no issue. I'm going to close the public comment period time. Item 6 is our engineer report. Kevin.
Okay, thanks. Some updates on projects. Dubuque Street Phase 1, so that is now substantially completed and open to traffic a week ago on November 15th. They've been issued a punch list, and they'll be working on those items from the list. Some of those are weather dependent, so it'll be finally completed in the spring sometime. City Hall project, we had our first regular construction progress meeting last week. Wasn't a whole lot to talk about, but they are working currently on forming and pouring the foundation. And then once that's done, they'll work on some under slab rough ends and a block at the elevator shaft. I think that's all supposed to be done by December, so they are making progress. Jones Boulevard Extension, that one is also substantially completed and open to traffic. That was on November 11th, and they also have a punch list. It's not a whole lot on that punch list, but there are a couple items that are weather dependent. There's some paint striping and some vehicle detection pucks that won't be able to be completed until the spring. And then lastly, the community center roof, the edge metal has finally arrived, and it's currently being installed. I talked to the contractor today, and he thinks that they'll have it done by the end of this week. I guess they are planning on working Friday, possibly Saturday. And then we'll have a final walkthrough probably sometime next week on that project. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
You guys have any questions for Kevin? Kevin, I had a question about the foundation being poured at City Hall right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is the ground compact enough to hold that, or is there any fear of it settling more? I assume it's in good hands, but it's a
Yeah,
question I
we
wondered.
actually, on that project, we had settlement plates required. So they
Oh,
put
okay.
these plates on it, and then they've got like 7 foot of fill on top of that. And then we measured the top of the rod once a week, the elevation of it. And then we were also working with Terracon, they were the geotechnical consultant, to review the elevations every week. And it got to the point where it started to move like 0.100th of a foot. And then it stopped for 2 weeks in a row, and they were comfortable with that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Ryan, City Administrator report.
Thank you. Just a couple quick hitters tonight, given the agenda is pretty loaded. Just a reminder, our offices, all city offices are closed Thursday and Friday this week for the Thanksgiving holiday. And then we're not planning on having a second meeting in December. We've done that now for the last few years, and it seemed to work well. So we'll probably have a pretty full agenda that first meeting in December. And then we'll reconvene after the first of the year. That's what I have this evening.
All right, thank you. Item 8 is the mayor's report, and I don't have a ton to report. Eric filled in for me on behalf at the MPO meeting last week, and he can bring that up to you. We can bring that to your attention. So I'll make mine brief. Council reports. Eric put you on the spot there, but when you get to it, you guys have any items to represent your roles here at the city level?
Well, Brian was there too, so.
I know. You,
I'm sure he wants to talk about that. I was also at the, and I know you were, and Brent, I think I saw a number of people at the, I think Lakeisha, you were there too, at the Better Together 2030 thing, and that was, I thought, a good event. I think that organization is going to be good for for our community and our neighboring communities. So
Is there anything from the MPO worthwhile, Brian?
A couple things. They finished the report of the Long Range Transportation Plan 2050. So if anybody wants to look at it, here it is. It's online though, at the MPO's website. It's a pretty impressive document once you get in there and look at some of the stuff. The other big item was they're kind of, Iowa City is interested in looking into the possibility of using the Krandick right-of-way as some type of a bus pathway from through the corridor. And so they're looking at whether or not to see about funding a study for that to see what it would take to do that and look at the costs as an alternative to a light rail system. And the Severson Challenge that they've been doing as a fundraiser for the last several years, they're going to do it again, but it may be kind of changing how it's focused just a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. But they said they'd kind of get some ideas together and get back to everybody.
and as far as the light rail versus bus, I think it sounds like they are moving forward with a study of that. Iowa City and Johnson County both have agreed to put up money for that, but I think that's something that we'll probably be asked to spend some money on as well, the study itself. So that's something we probably want to discuss in the future.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, move on to item 10 then. And this is a kind of a, say, wrap up, formalizing, memorializing conversation about the ARPA funds for housing. And we just wanted to discuss and take possible action tonight regarding the use of those ARPA funds. There's a good memo in our council packet in support of affordable housing. So do you want to, I guess, Ryan, what we're trying to get is just some solid direction for the use of these dollars. And if after Ellen's presentation a few weeks ago, you had any more questions or follow up, and if we had a consensus, I thought we had a consensus maybe on where we were going to go. We just need to memorialize that here tonight in some action. So maybe it won't be a long discussion. You want to jump in and say anything else?
I would just state that once we have a consensus, we would then work with the Johnson County Housing Trust Fund and Ellen to bring back an agreement for the council to consider. But the reason we really need to move forward on this somewhat quickly is because we have deadlines for that money. So if we're going to invest the $400,000 into affordable housing, we need to take some action here in the near future.
And the near future starts tonight.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So are you asking us to make a motion regarding the decision or the discussion we had last time?
Yes.
Yes.
So obviously the kind of what Ellen was recommending, and of course I don't want to speak for her, but she's here this evening if you have questions, was moving forward with a LIHTC project, which is would be a rental assistance type project where we would invest that $400,000 into the project, depending on state application being funded, finding a developer to do it. There are a couple of moving parts here that we need to get moving on, if in fact that's where you want to put the money.
And that was option number one on the
Yes.
table that Ellen had provided to us. How do you guys feel about that? Okay. Did not.
Yep.
I still have some hesitation. Again, Ellen was great in a back and forth with me. I think that conversation was shared with council on my preference of seeing more sustainable spending. So taking folks that need assistance and helping them along and get to a point where they're no longer having to rely on the assistance and be more into home ownership. She explained very well that, you know, for some folks, for varying reasons, just are not able to own a home. So, Ellen, I really appreciate the information and the back and forth. You spent a significant amount of time in conversation with me and in educating me and with your expertise. So I really do appreciate that. So that's that's my piece.
Okay. What do we need to officially memorialize the direction that we're going to go?
I'd be content with a motion to move forward with a LIHTC project or a LIHTC application, should say, in committing the $400,000 to that project. And then what we'll do is we'll bring back an official agreement with Johnson County Housing Trust Fund, memorializing them as our partner here.
Okay.
So, Mayor, one one question I do have for Ellen, and Ellen, if you don't mind coming up, is over in the sustainability and in the sustainability aspect of the investment. The second piece that I brought up in our conversation was how can this money, if we invested in this option, how can we see a return on the back end that will keep this sustainable, where there's funds that will be able to continue to be used down the road? Is that possible?
Yes. And what the trust fund is willing to do is, for the first time ever, taking those specific loan payments that would come from the developer over the 30 years and put into a separate account, North Liberty's account.
Okay.
And then we would reuse that money in North Liberty. We've never done this before in the 18 years of the organization. So we recognize that this is a large amount of money from your community. And we knew that you wanted to recycle it. Yeah. So it wouldn't just be recycled in Johnson County. We're saying we can recycle it in North Liberty.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Thank you.
To be clear, Ellen, normally you would just take that money and put it in your general funds to be granted out?
Every loan payment, principal loan payment, is put back into housing.
Mm-hmm.
For
No,
the-
but I
yeah.
just, normally what you would do with that is put it into your general grant funds. Is that?
General fund for housing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question. Is anyone comfortable making that motion and to direct maybe I'll just kind of say it and you can say yes or no. Moving forward with the LIHTC application with $400,000 out of our ARPA funds, directing staff to start that application, committing that to. Do I have enough words in there?
Yeah.
I can just keep going.
A motion to move forward with the LIHTC application with the Housing Trust Fund and committing the $400,000 of ARPA money.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I just think that gives us the best flexibility.
I do too. Me too. I'm excited for this part. Okay, Tracy, could we have a roll call, please?
On the fly. Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Item 11 is our FY24 budget framework and guidance. Brian's going to lead us through a discussion on our framework for the fiscal year ending 2024.
Okay, thank you very much. While there's 16 pages here, I think we can get through this relatively quickly. The intent tonight really is just to take everyone's temperature to make sure we're moving in the right direction as we prepare our FY24 budget and to determine or to make sure we're not missing anything that maybe we've talked about previously or that you expected to see as we prepare for that. I would just note on the budget timeline, right now we're planning for and have traditionally planned for that third Tuesday in January to have a special session, a special budget session with our department heads, and we usually start that at 5:30 so that we have ample time to get through the operational side of the budget and give you folks an opportunity to ask any questions of them that you might have. So January 17th, that as it turns out to be, and then if needed, and it generally is, we'd probably start the January 24th meeting at 6 o'clock to finish the budget discussion at that meeting. So tonight, I just want to identify or talk through a few of the challenges and opportunities, and some of these you'll are familiar with because they've been challenges or opportunities for a number of years running. Give you a snapshot of some of the projects, what we've completed recently, what's ongoing, and what is tentatively in the FY24 capital improvements program. And then at that point, just talk a little bit about, hey, are we missing anything, or is there anything that you thought might be in there? And then also have a snapshot of the goals that this group approved earlier this year. And as you'll see, we're making some progress in those. So we'll just touch base on those items and then have an opportunity for a little discussion. So just starting with challenges and opportunities, the residential rollback actually is an opportunity this year for us. It jumped 2%. We actually thought it was going to go down. You might remember last year it went down 2%. This thing fluctuates every year. And so this will be helpful for us. That said, kind of jumping around here, the challenge is going to be the backfill credits continue to go away. This is state aid that was committed to cities when they first made some changes to the property tax laws, and then later on decided to cut those credits. And so last year they cut it by 20%. This year it'll be cut by 40% and 60%, and so on. So it'll have about a $140,000 impact, negative impact, to our budget. I'll note that the multi-residential rollback drops significantly this year, and this was part of that 2013, I believe it was, law change. And in this case, North Liberty is not as impacted as some of the other cities because a lot of our multifamily already came in under a different, under the residential side of things. And so we won't be as impacted as, say, Iowa City. I know they're struggling with this significantly, but it will have a little bit of an impact. And then, of course, as every business and family is dealing with, just the cost of items, availability of items, that will impact not only growth as we see construction happening in our community, but also for the city to continue to provide services. One example I'll give you, and actually Chief Plotz, I think, had it maybe in this month's memo about the fire truck that is so far behind. We're seeing the same thing for dump trucks, snow removal equipment. Guy in the Parks Department is looking for a larger truck, and that chassis is out 18 months. So those are the types of things we're seeing that will be a challenge. Moving on, just some things we anticipate as we do every year as we grow staffing requests. I've just listed 4 of them that I'm aware of or that we've been talking about. I anticipate there'll be a couple others requesting staff. We'll evaluate those in our discussions with department heads and as we look at the potential or the what the revenues are. And of course, we won't know revenue numbers until occasionally we'll get them a little bit before the new year, but usually it's right there just after the new year. So we will be talking with department heads about those as we meet with them in December. Another opportunity here that we've been talking about for the last 12 months or so is the ARPA funds, and obviously we just allocated $400,000 tonight, but we still have some availability there, and we'll have those. I anticipate have those discussions not only during this budget discussion, but also moving forward, depending on how the city council would like to allocate those. So I'll just move on to, and I'm not going to go through all these projects, you can read them, but I think it's important to point out that it's been a successful year. We've accomplished a lot. We've been able to pivot pretty quickly. I look at that Jones Boulevard project. We had a developer come in looking to make a significant investment into our community. We were able to step up and extend Jones Boulevard with the help of Shive Hattery, and of course the contractor. We were able to do that. So I think that's pretty impressive, and just shows that while we are a bureaucracy, we can be somewhat nimble when we need to be. And then there's a whole list of projects in progress. again, I'm not going to go through and list these, but the intent here is to give you a visual of there's a lot going on. You know, our team is managing all these, so we're look forward to getting these projects completed as we move through calendar year 23, excuse me. And then lastly, these are the projects that were identified in the FY24 capital improvements plan from last year, as we put these plans together. We've not visited with our department heads yet about their priorities for this year. Obviously, as the year moves, priorities can change. So this is kind of our starting point, and we'll proceed with it from there. I think I noted in my schedule here that Tracy and I will be meeting with department heads through the month of December. So we should have a much better idea of what folks are wanting to prioritize before Christmas. I'm going to talk a little briefly about the goals report, and then I think I would just open it up, if it's okay with the mayor, to the group to seek any feedback or thoughts. But we are making, I think, some pretty significant progress on our goals. You can see that the first four are moving forward. In fact, we took a step forward on goal number 2 just a few minutes ago. Goal number 3 is on the agenda for later this evening. Goal 4 is regarding the staffing plan. The fire department staffing plan received a significant grant, so making some great progress. We have not touched on the energy efficiency grants. I'm hoping the mayor and I can have a discussion after the new year on this and bring some ideas to the city council early next year. So with all that, and then of course, goal number 1, the amphitheater, we're waiting on the state for Centennial Park, waiting on the state. We've had our team out visiting with private companies about potential naming rights and other donations, and we think we're hopeful that we'll get some good news from the state, maybe even before Christmas, and can get some momentum on that project. So I think I'll stop there, and now is where we're going to take your temperature or take your pulse and see how are we feeling about this? Is there anything we're missing or that you want to see that is not included? And I know I just asked a question, but I'll make one more comment before you answer, if that's okay. And just a reminder that we haven't met with department heads, so we don't know what their operational requests, to a certain extent, are just yet. And again, we'll have that discussion January 17th. This is really more high level thoughts from the group.
List looked familiar to me and where we were going. Is there anything that you guys think should have been on the list that was missed? Or anything on that list that maybe we don't need to be worrying about?
I do think public transit is going to be something that we need to spend a little bit of money on next year, and plan on that, at least the companion study for the potential rapid transit bus. I feel like that's something that is going to have to happen at some point, because once we have a hospital open down here, Ranshaw Way is going to have to be expanded again if we don't have another way for people to get around. So, and 380 is going to have to jump up to like 8 lanes for people to get from one place to another. So I think that's something that we need to be thinking about now.
Do you know how much the study is going to cost? Okay.
No.
These are things that we'll keep tabs on.
Yeah, and that's
A couple of months.
And I think that's something that's going to happen. My understanding is it'd probably take maybe 2 or 3 months to get the RFP out, and then maybe another 9 months to do the study itself. But I think we'll know more in a few months about how much that study part of it is going to cost.
That'll be helpful. We do have a line item for transit, and we generally have some leftover funds in there, so that will be helpful. But I made a note as you were talking. I'll reach out to Kent and see if they have any idea of what this might cost. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
I also wonder if we have a plan for public safety staffing over the next, I know you mentioned fire staff, we have to plan for these additional 3 full-time people. But as far as police and fire going forward, do we have a plan for how we think we're going to need to hire over the next few years, or?
We do. Both Diane and Chief Venegan and Chief Plotz have been pretty proactive in that and have documented it. Chief Plotz has a nice staffing plan developed, and as does Diane with as we get more involved in things like the cybercrime unit, for example. We've had someone on the drug task force for a long time, and as we get more involved in some of these joint teams, obviously it takes a little bit away from North Liberty, but it's the greater good of the county. So we do, and I can share those with the group.
Well, with this grant, it puts us in a position many cities don't have, which is 3 years to plan and save.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that the award of that grant was bigger than we can explain in words, both from a staffing perspective to get where the department needs to be with response times and staff, so we don't burn out our chief because he's running too many calls. But on a planning side for financials for the city, it's enormous. So
Agree wholeheartedly. And what we'll start doing is, we've talked about this internally a little bit, but so that it doesn't all hit us in year 3, we need to, start planning as if we have one person this year, one person next year, and so on, so that we can be ready for that large expense.
Anything else, you guys?
I'm thoroughly impressed. I know that when I first came on board, we went through this discussion, and in my mind, I thought, how are we going to turn what our hopes, dreams, and wishes were then into actual concrete ideas that we could work towards, and the fact that we have a plan in place, I'm really excited about.
I think one thing that'd be good to know is kind of get a checkup of where our transportation program is now, what we've spent so far, and from what we budgeted, and see if there's a way to, if we can increase the services maybe in the next year, if we know how much we're actually using. Thinking especially more for the Liberty Transit.
Okay, yeah, we'll get some updated numbers.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You got enough?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Item 12 then is A&M zoning amendment 1, and item A is our staff and commission recommendation. Russ?
I know it's a long agenda, so it was a pretty quiet item. We did have a good neighbor meeting on the 18th of October. Just had a couple of people attended that just had general questions. This property owner owns 2 lots, so there's 2 rezonings. Wanted to separate them because they're separate properties, but just looking to market the property. Has no immediate intentions for developing the property at this time.
Okay.
So Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of both items.
Okay, thank you. Is there any, now item B on this is a public hearing regarding proposed rezoning request. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to make comment about this request for rezoning? Seeing none. Tracy or Brian, Russ, have we received any other comments other than, okay. Item C, is there an applicant presentation for this?
I do not see the applicant. I know he was out of town over the holidays,
Okay.
but again, just reiterate that they mentioned that they had no direct user at this point.
Thank you. Item D then is our first consideration of ordinance number 2022-26, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from Office Research Park District to C3 Higher Intensity Commercial District. Could I have a motion for this first consideration?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you guys have any questions about this? All right, seeing none. Tracy, roll call, please.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason,
No,
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Item 13 is A&M zoning amendment 2. Same story.
Same story.
All right. Item A. And is there any public here to speak on behalf of this zoning request? Seeing none. No applicant presentation. And then this is item D, first consideration of ordinance number 2022-27, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from Office and Research Park District to C3 Higher Intensity Commercial District. Could I have a motion for this consideration, please?
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Do you guys have any comments or questions? All right. Tracy, roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
No.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you all. Item 14 is our Scanlon zoning amendment, and Russ, item A is staff and commission recommendation.
I have a couple of maps up on the screen there. If you can read them, just shows the location of the property. It'd be directly on the west side of the future elementary school site. Currently zoned RS6 single family zoning. Kind of mentioned a couple of times in previous presentations that we're seeing market shifts based on the cost of material as well as the interest rates. And so it's difficult to, your audience is much smaller for $500,000 plus houses, especially at this type of interest rate. So we are starting to see more dense requests. So this is an RD10. On the west side of the school mentioned, there's RD10 just to the south side, so they thought this would be a good proposal as well. Staff's generally in favor of mixture of housing types, particularly within the same development. Had a good neighbor meeting on the 18th. No one was there except for Jason and myself. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at its November meeting.
Thank you. Item B is public hearing on this proposed rezoning request. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Item C is applicant presentation.
I do see Jason here, but I'm not sure there's much to add unless.
Nothing much to add. I guess I'm just here to answer any questions. All right, stay tuned. Item D then is our first consideration of ordinance number 2022-28, and this is an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from RS6 single unit residence district to RD10 two unit residence district. Could I have a motion for this consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. There was a great question in our packet, whoever threw that to Ryan and to Russ, on how far will this creep into the development next door? Are there any other questions about this one? Comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I know we've been, focusing on this as to make the housing more affordable. So what is our price point between a single family and then a duplex?
Price points, I can't speak too much to it. I know that right now, as Ryan mentioned, that interest rates are higher. They did want to just provide different types of affordability. Obviously, for a single family, it'd be more expensive. We're looking at a lower price point. And then in with that, I guess we're looking to more kind of transition the property from one end to the other and provide less dense to more dense, being located around the school property. But like I said, as far as price points go, I can't put a factual figure to it.
I think for zero lot lines, we're generally in the upper mid. I would probably say we're pushing into the upper threes, probably creeping into the fours right now. They're not affordable by any means, so I choose my words carefully and say more affordable than. I think for new family housing, it's hard to find a new house for under $500,000 in North Liberty, and at a 7% interest rate. It makes it really tough.
Interest rates gone down, and I have a hard time. I know that the cost of a building is definitely gone up, but relatively speaking, the interest rate at the rate that it was is nothing that anyone thought was going to be sustainable. So I guess, my thought was if the main use of this to go to the two dwelling structures instead of one is interest rate, what are the other variables, so to speak?
Well, I think for the most part, it's got to do with not just providing single family, but providing a little more dense development from one end to the other. We've got an existing subdivision off to the west. For the most part, the entire site will be developed as an RS6, but as we get closer to North Liberty Road and the school property, that we're looking to kind of increase the density a little bit, which allows the price points to kind of be reduced a little bit more.
Is the price point really going to be reduced more though, or is it just an opportunity for the developer to make more money?
Well, I mean, it's kind of twofold. It's one, yeah, a duplex provides 2 units as opposed to 1, but from a standpoint of, owning a single family lot as opposed to, say, a duplex, I think a duplex is probably more in line with someone, maybe like a first-time home buyer or someone that's going to be moving into their first home, as opposed to a single family where you've kind of got, more responsibility, I guess I would say, with your actual property, kind of say.
Have you kind of plotted out a little bit to see what the difference in the number of units would be?
I'm wanting to say that in this area there were in the realm of, I'm wanting to say about 10 to 12 single family lots at the time, and I believe now with the duplexes we've got, I think there's,
There was one less lot.
I think there's one less
Right,
lot.
but
yeah.
obviously 2 units per lot.
So yeah, the lots it'll be the lot, I guess for the most part, the units will be double just in this area.
And Russ, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So Russ, this traffic's going to be coming out through Berkshire onto Dubuque, correct?
Or no, no, it won't. At this point in time, it'll be going east to North Liberty Road. Eventually, there will be 2 ways when the rest of the development connects up to Berkshire. But yes, so for the time being, until that development moves west, the only access will be North Liberty Road.
Okay.
And as part of the original plan, this area where we're looking at the rezoning will connect over to Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And so there'll be access from the west and to the east over to North Liberty Road.
And that'll be something, if this is going to go higher density, Dubuque Street's going to be a problem. Because it's already an issue with high school traffic in the morning. And if we start pouring this kind of density in there, that's going to be something we're going to have to look at.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this in the Ryan's response, but I anticipate any of the higher intensity or higher density stuff being more towards the east, towards North Liberty Road, with direct access to North Liberty Road. I don't see much more higher density as we're moving west. I see that predominantly single family. I don't know that I view 0 lot lines as that much different than single family. And I've mentioned sometimes in zoning codes, some municipalities have gone away from designating separate zones and they just call it 1 and 2 family zones. Maybe we do that at some point in the future. But I would also say with Berkshire, we kind of, with the design, kind of worked it so it would kind of come south on Osage Lane just for that traffic calming. I know we spent quite a bit of time, Kevin, talking about how can we manage traffic and not just make a straight road, because we do know people are going to be cutting through. That's just the general nature of it.
I would note, we do have a master plan for Dubuque Street. I think it's a 5 phases, 5 or 6 phase.
6, yeah, one's done. Yeah, we actually talked to Michael last week about it. We thought that it would make sense to probably the next phase may be at the Juniper, because that's where we're planning on a roundabout. The Juniper and Dubuque.
And I think this would be, now that we'll have completed Ranshaw in 25 and we have federal money for that, Dubuque might be our next best option when we apply for MPO funds, or call them MPO funds or federal funds, to try to get some federal dollars for roads in North Liberty, because you can't just do it on a residential road. It's got to be a significant road. So
How does that play in with the time frame of Forever Green and the extension?
well, that's not in a CIP right now, and that will be one of those projects that we're hoping we would put into a CIP when we get funding from, I shouldn't say when, if we get funding from federal government through what they used to call earmarks. I'm not sure what it's called now, but it's the same process. So I didn't really answer your question, Brent. I think they've told us late at the summer of 23 is when we should find out if if we have funding for that project, and then it'll probably be at least a year before we'd be able to spend that money.
I'm curious why there's this little cutout on the southeast corner. Why,
On the southeast. So that was actually part of Greenbelt Trail Part 2.
Okay.
And so those the roadway and the utilities in that area have already been put in the ground, and so that area we've got services in place as well. So as far as what's going to be rezoned, we are proposing this area that we got in the blue, just because utilities and roadway stuff were not in place yet.
Are you talking about that little flag guy? right
Yeah.
there? Okay, yeah, that's,
just at the end of the street that's shown on there.
And in the grand scheme of things, I guess if you were to look at the entire property as a whole, the rezoning in this blue area, we're looking at probably another 10 or 11 units total compared to the original plan.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Tracy, give me a roll call, please.
Smith,
No.
Bermal,
no.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason,
No.
Harrington.
No.
Motion fails. Item 15 is Watts zoning amendment, and this is our third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2022-23, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa, from ID interim development district to RS4 single unit residence district. Could I have a motion for this third consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you guys have any other questions or comments about this one? Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Wason,
Nope.
Harrington,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Item 16 is Donovan Holdings zoning amendment, and this is also a third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2022-24, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa, from Office and Research Park District to R12 multi-unit residence district and C3 higher intensity commercial district. Could I have a motion for this consideration, please?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do you guys have any other questions? Wasn't this one? All right. Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries.
It's a little confusing. It's for they have a preliminary plat, and so the staff and commission recommendations are for the preliminary plat now. The zoning was just approved.
Gotcha. Thank you. Would have put one other thing in there, but we're good. We're going to move on to the preliminary plat discussion. Thanks, Ryan. Item B is the staff and commission recommendations, Russ.
This was unanimously recommended for approval by our planning commission. We did have another good neighbor meeting. Again, no formal objections at this point. So planning commission recommends approval.
Thank you. I don't think we have an applicant presentation out there.
Correct.
This is resolution number 2022-120, a resolution approving the preliminary plat for Water Tower Place, North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Sittig,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
No.
Bermal,
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Item 17 is GRD Burleson LLC zoning amendment, and this is also a third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2022-25, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa, from ID interim development district to C3 higher intensity commercial district. Could I have a motion for this third consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final questions on this one?
Just to add, the condition that was voted on has been added to the ordinance.
Yep, saw that. Thank you. Tracy, could I have roll call, please?
Harrington,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Hey,
Bermal.
No.
Counselor Wason, was that an aye or an?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Tracy probably got it, but I maybe missed it. Motion carries 4-1. Item 18 is our zoning code amendment. And Russ, what are we doing here?
Just very minor, nothing worth describing, but just continued this year. I've had a couple of them, just minor tweaks here and there as we notice stuff. So Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval at November meeting.
It did. Item B is our public hearing regarding proposed amendments to the zoning code. Seeing none out there. Item C then is first consideration. Thank you for shortening this as much as you could. Of ordinance number 2022-29, an ordinance amending Chapter 168 zoning code development regulations and Chapter 169 zoning code zoning district regulations of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances by amending the use matrix and the use definition, by amending off-street parking and loading setbacks and off-street parking requirements. Could I have a motion for this first consideration, please?
So moved.
second.
Moved in second. Do you guys have any questions?
Just got a question. So in the fuel depot, which would be a gas station, is there rules for how close that could be to residential things which could then exist in that zoning area?
Oh, we'll have to.
Because it just like, it seems that's a little more dangerous than the usual side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. We don't have, well, in the C3 district, speaking specifically, we have a 10-foot buffer required for adjacent to residential, no matter what.
Our fire code handles the difference, distances between different areas as well. So that'll be not specifically addressed in zoning, but there are, we're, I think, at the 2018 International Fire Code standard right now. So
Well, and the state has a whole division on underground tanks, underground storage tanks. And
It just as my mom and dad lived next to something and it actually impacted their insurance rates quite a bit.
Oh.
Independence.
Can I ask, just, is Archie's meeting this for parking lots per bay?
They were way above that, and when I looked, that's why I looked, and I said, "Wow, that's way too low." So they were, and I'll say we want to put minimums in there, but I thought that's just way too low. So these are the things that come up. I'm appreciative that we're such a fast growing community because it gives me an opportunity to look at this stuff all the time and think, is this working or not working?
It's like cleaning the house when relatives come over for Thanksgiving. Any other questions? All right, Tracy, can we have a roll call, please?
Harrington,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 19 then is Mead property acquisition. And this is item A, resolution number 2022-122, a resolution establishing fair market value and just compensation for the acquisition of certain property for the North Side Community Park project. Could I have a motion to open for this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. You guys have any questions before we get started? Grant, thank you for the note
sure, I think we
provided to us. And Mr. Street, you've got some questions or comment for us, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you giving us a few minutes this evening to offer some general comments. My name is Gary Strite. I'm an attorney from Cedar Rapids, and I represent the Mead family that is the owner of this property that you have under consideration this evening. Justin Mead, who's a member of the family, is here this evening, but he's kind of a shy guy and decided he's going to let me do all the talking. But, I'm going to offer some comments that are not intended to be legal argument. It's not here to threaten legal Armageddon if we don't get this worked out. But our main point comes from two different perspectives. The first is that this is just a bad fit. You know from your own city zoning ordinances that all of this property is already zoned light industrial or commercial. It is some of the most valuable potential commercial development property in the city. The city has invested significant amounts of money in bringing sewer and water to this property, and they're going to take it, and you want to take it and convert it to non-income producing property. We all appreciate the opportunity in the cities where we live to have places where people can gather, congregate, socialize. We've had a tremendous transformation in Cedar Rapids and the Newbo area, and that's maybe what's intended here. What we've been told is that this is going to be used for parks, excuse me, for soccer fields, baseball fields. So, that doesn't really fit. And our perspective is that if the family is given a reasonable opportunity to work with and collaborate with the city, we can maybe have a win-win situation. At the present time, it took 3 months for the appraisal to get to our hands to review and see what the city is going to offer as its fair and just compensation. The city has been very cooperative. Mr. Lentz in particular has been open, transparent, available to us to have conversations. But we get this darn appraisal 30 days ago. We have 8 members of this family that are trying to sort this out and figure what they're going to do to respond. And yet 30 days later, the council's here hot to trot to move forward with condemnation. Condemnation is an expensive process for both parties. You carry significant risks to the city. As you go through the condemnation process, our clients are going to end up with less money than what the city is going to adopt by its resolution this evening. So the risk is all on the city. It'll take time, it'll take significant expense, the property owners and the city. And, by their own admission, city staff or Mr. Lentz has told us it's going to be well into March of next year before this matter even gets considered by the Condemnation Commission. And deadlines are wonderful things. I mean, human nature being what it is, we all crammed for tests tonight before we had the exam scheduled, and that's a little bit what's happened to my clients here. Oh my God, we've got a city council meeting November 22nd. We better get our stuff together. Well, we haven't been able to do that. We've just been able to hire our own condemnation lawyer, person of significant expertise and experience in these matters. We had a lengthy conversation with him Friday. So we're really asking for 2 things. One would be that this gets sent back to city staff to look at and evaluate property that might be more appropriately used for a city park. All we've seen so far is a scattershot map that has circles of targeted areas here, there, everywhere for city parks. And we've never really seen any analysis, and maybe it'll come, of why this park is preferred over any other potential site for a city park. One member of the Meade family contacted city staff and asked about the potential of other property that the Meade family owns that doesn't have the same potential value for commercial development. The city's turning its back on significant tax revenues that'll be here in perpetuity on this property. And so, I'm appealing to you as your sense of fairness, your sense of duty to the citizens to maximize the reasonable development of the city, take advantage of the investments that the city has already made in making this very attractive commercial property, and send it back to the staff to reevaluate where a park can best be located. The other alternative that we're offering is table this until your next meeting on December 13th. That gives our family 3 weeks or a little bit more to make a very firm, reasonable counterproposal to the city. 3 weeks is not going to be the end of the world, especially when you're looking out into at least March before the Condemnation Commission addresses this, and then you're looking at a year or more of litigation. And granted, under the condemnation laws, you'll get control of the property, but we're going to grind through a lot of money in legal fees, staff time, and at least give the parties a reasonable opportunity over the next 3 weeks. This is a hard deadline. The family realizes that if this doesn't happen, you'll crank this resolution through at your next meeting. But I really see no harm in postponing it or tabling it until your December 13th meeting. So thank you very much for your consideration. Again, my gratitude to the transparency and openness and cooperation of the city staff, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
We're not allowed to do so in public comment time, Mr. Stride. I apologize for butchering your name, by the way. in the
That's okay.
beginning, So,
It gets pronounced a lot of different
yeah,
ways,
so
so
I won't get that
don't
wrong
mind.
again, I promise. So, we didn't have this public comment item on the agenda for this, so I created that for you. In public comment, it's not a time for interaction back and forth between council and discussion points up there. We have had a discussion or been briefed by Mr. Lentz over the last few days as well. And a couple of things that I'll point out to council. The only thing on the agenda here tonight is to approve the appraisal price in that process. What Mr. Stride is asking for us to do in tabling this anyway, the two things that he's asking for us to do in tabling it, I generally think that tabling items is helpful if there's more information that can be gleaned and more time is necessary to pull more information together. In this case, that can also happen alongside of the condemnation hearing that's already begun. So negotiating for other lands is already happening and can continue to happen as well as we continue to go down this road for condemnation. It's my understanding that we have 75 days or so before a hearing could be scheduled, which is 11 weeks away. So we believe that that's more than enough time for us to have some back and forth and other negotiations on property around there. Grant, do I have that hit pretty well? Am I missing anything?
I think you've pretty much got it. You don't have to hear much from me, which is, I guess, a gift to everyone.
I apologize for misunderstanding when I was supposed to have made these comments, so.
No, it's okay. I invited you up. I knew that you were going to be here in that council. We just don't have an opportunity to interact with you in that time. So I'm glad that you were here.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But no, I don't have anything. So doing that, we will be happy to consider any continuing proposals. I would just echo what Mr. Stride said. He's been outstanding to work with. There's a lot of moving parts. It's a big partnership, and so it's our intention. I understand we might have something available to present to council by the December 13th meeting, and if we do, we'll definitely put it on the put it before you for consideration. And if we don't have it until beginning of January, we can do it then. There are lots of off ramps, as I've discussed in our previous conversations here. So, and now I keep talking when I said I didn't need to. I'll be happy to answer questions if you have them. But
So forgive my ignorance, but what's being asked for us to delay that conversation? We're not actually having that conversation, correct?
you can have that conversation. You absolutely have the power to what is happening tonight. There is a motion that is a routine motion related to any action under eminent domain. You have to have an appraisal. The appraisal was delayed in this instance, both intentionally and unintentionally. And so it wasn't until October 20th that we got our appraisal. We had a meeting with Mr. Stride early in November. Otherwise, this would have been on our previous meeting as soon as we had the appraisal in hand. We cannot move forward as was authorized by this body on July 26th without a resolution. We need an appraisal, and we need a resolution authorizing that appraisal. And so we would normally have had this meeting and this resolution in August, but there were just delays associated with this. And so this is how long it's taken to get to this point. After this, there is we officially provide whatever the resolution, whatever the appraised value is as just compensation. We can officially, we send them a real copy, not just a digital courtesy copy of the appraisal. And we have nothing to do for 10 days. They have the right to consider it and think about it and make their own decisions. And then we can make an offer, but not until 10 days after we provide the resolution or the appraisal that gets approved by resolution tonight. This is not like a regular real estate negotiation. There are statutory procedures that are put in place. Once we have had our time for reasonable negotiation, at that point we can initiate, if we're not successful, we can initiate filing paperwork for condemnation, but we cannot schedule a hearing sooner than 30 days from that by law. In Johnson County, the Sheriff's Department will not schedule it sooner than 60 days. And so we have 10 days of consideration, 5 days minimum of good faith back and forth negotiation, dickering on price if we can get there. And if we can't, another 60 days before we can even set a hearing for the compensation. So that's where the number 75 days came from. So we have lots of time. My initial email to Mr. Strite on this was in May of this year. There's been lots of time to discuss alternatives, and there will continue to be additional time as we go forward if need be. So I'm recommending that council go ahead and approve this resolution tonight so that we can move on with the process, both processes of entertaining additional offers as they become available and moving forward with the city's interest in acquiring the property to build a park. Is that responsive, Ms. Brimble? Thank you.
To be clear, we're not really changing footprint of anything that we.
Zero changes at all. This is exactly what you approved already on July 26th. This is just, hey, we got the appraisal in. This is what it says. Can we use this number for the value? If you wanted to start all over and get a new appraisal, you could. Please don't do that.
Well, I guess my one question, and I don't remember, is the appraisal for this particular property, or did it cover all of the property?
This is a before and after appraisal. It's a narrative appraisal that considers all the property that is owned by the Meade Family Limited Partnership, what its value is before, and what its value would be after the taking of these two parcels. And that's how it's a before and after appraisal. Is how is what it's considered before and after value finding appraisal. So that's how we identify the damage to the property from the taking. And so that's the best kind of appraisal you can get for this, because it's not just viewing these two parcels in a vacuum. It views the entirety of what's available to the partnership. What do they have now? What could they do with that? Maybe it's even more by having a virtue of a lot of land together versus what's left over. Is that responsive? I don't know. Okay, great.
I mean, I guess we would have to have a new appraisal if we were going to change the footprint.
Yes, you would have to have a new appraisal if you change the footprint at all. We did get an alternative appraisal made based on one of the initial proposals, but that has not been authorized for acquisition, right? That's just to serve us as for informationally, so we're making informed decisions on what the appropriate value is to offer per acre, which is for either configuration. This case was $63,000 an acre, give or take a few pennies.
Any other question?
Same as Eric.
Okay. Brent, you good?
Okay.
Tracy, can I have roll call, please?
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Mason,
Aye.
Bermal. Aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all. Item 20 is our FY24 annual appropriations, and item A is resolution number 2022-123, a resolution of obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year. And this is for Spodix. Could I have a motion for this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Do you guys have any questions? All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Harrington,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B, same words, different company. Resolution number 2022-124, a resolution obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year. And this is for Diamond Dreams. Have motion for this resolution, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any questions on this one? Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 21 is our FY24 Urban Renewal Draw. And item A is discussion and possible action on the annual Urban Renewal Funds request for FY24. Tracy or Ryan?
Sure, I'll take this one. This is a required report as we prepare for our FY24 budget. We have to notify the county how much TIF money we're going to need to repay our debts, pay the rebates that we just approved, And so this report identifies that. I will note that we're collecting $250,000 less than last year. The model that we have put together, we try to reduce that every year, because when we reduce our TIF taking, then that money gets dispersed back into our general fund. So it's a positive to our general fund, not a $250,000 positive, because TIF funds, when they get released or when we are not using them, then they get split back to their respective taxing districts. So the county gets a portion, the school gets a portion, and so on. But this is we're moving in the right direction with our TIF funds.
And if you haven't had a tax orientation with Ryan yet in your one-on-ones, do so. It's really, it's a TIF dollar is not as, it's not worth as much as a general obligation or general fund dollar. So
The League of Cities class was
yeah,
very good for me. Very good for me.
very helpful. Does anybody have any questions for Ryan or Tracy on this? All right, we need a motion to approve this. Do I need to give it more words than that?
No.
Tracy, could I have a motion to approve this? Then,
So moved.
Second.
thank you guys. Any other questions? All right, Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 22 is our FY22 annual financial report, and this is also a discussion and possible action on the FY22 annual financial report.
This is a reflection of dollars spent, revenues that came in. It's pretty identical. I mean, it is identical to what you all saw in the audit at the last council meeting. So this is then what we report to the state and to the Census Bureau as required annually.
It's a lot of words and it's a lot of things to take care of and forms to fill out. It's a lot of time.
It's fun.
Yeah, I know. It is. All right. Could I have a motion to approve the FY22 annual financial report?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do you guys have any questions on this item? Right. Tracy, roll call, please.
Mason,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Harrington,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Holy smokes. The old business. Anybody have any? Okay. New business?
Just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and much gratitude to all of our city staff, employees, first responders, and everyone that puts so much hard work into making our city fabulous. Happy Thanksgiving.
Gotcha. Brian?
So just going back to the consent agenda, Fairway, when they had their fire inspection, had no deficiencies noted. So as things have been going around here lately, I think that's very good. So give them a shout out. Also to Holiday Rucker for helping the fire department when they're putting the containers together to make the training facility. And then I had several people at the hospital let us know that they were very impressed that the streets were very good. When it was snowing last week, it was pretty slushy and everything and slick, and they could tell when they were in North Liberty and then when they were not in North Liberty. They just wanted to make sure that we knew that they appreciated it because it was good.
I don't have-
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Brian. Sorry, Brian.
I've got two. I didn't know about this till tonight in browsing activities that we have staff and first responders participating Wednesday, November 30th, 5:30 to 8:30 out at the lake for the holiday lights at the lake. So we'll have staff out there with the sheriff's office in Iowa City. So I'm going to make it that night. I think that's my jam, right? I want to go see all the fire trucks out there with holiday lights. So that would be kind of cool. And then
Your own fire truck night? Or?
ooh, now it might happen.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you haven't, it caught my eye today when I drove by Heinz Ice Cream and Sugar Bottom Bikes. There's a little bit of color pop there today. There's some new benches and some bike racks. Very artistic looking. It looks great with the brickwork that's going in. So if you haven't seen those caught my eye today. They look really nice. So pretty cool.
Very true. Very true. Anyone else? All right, only thing I'll add is change your smoke detectors if your house is more than 10 years old and you haven't done that yet. Our fire departments across the state have been running ragged the last couple of weeks. So, should we leave? Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Anybody in second? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.